It was Valentine's Day and love was in the air. However, for Kira, as she started opening a bouquet that had just arrived, what happened next would trap her in a nightmare beyond imagination. The bloody roses. When Kira found a bouquet of a dozen red roses waiting by her front door that morning, she assumed her partner had sent them as a sweet surprise. But as she lifted them, an envelope dropped from the flowers. Expecting a romantic note, she tore it open. What she held made her blood turn cold. The words were written with letters cut out from magazines and bore a sinister message. Roses fade, beauty dies. One by one, I'll take the things you prize. Kira felt sick, a wave of fear rising inside her. Was this someone's idea of a cruel joke? Surely it couldn't be real, could it? Glancing down at the beautiful roses she gripped in trepidation, she now noticed something else. Nestled amongst their crimson petals were streaks of a dark red substance. Shaking, Kira reached out to touch one. As the liquid smeared onto her fingertip, with escalating horror she realized it was blood. Crimson droplets oozed through the bouquet, the thorns now gleaming with a sickening sheen. A scream tore from Kira's throat as she threw down the blood-soaked roses in revulsion and terror. Heart thumping madly, she bolted upstairs, seeking safety within familiar walls. Questions raced through her mind. Who had sent her such a menacing Valentine? Was it someone from her past, a new enemy, or someone closer still? She rushed around her bedroom, slamming windows shut and ensuring her other locks were secure, feeling trapped in her own home. But as daylight faded to dusk, Kira knew she must call for help. Police and loved ones only offered sympathy, however, with little information to track down the stalker. Over the coming weeks, Kira withdrew further into fear and depression. Then one night she awoke to find her most precious possessions gone. She received only one clue, a fresh bouquet of cold, dead roses lying beside her bed. Kira shot upright in bed, her heart seizing at the sight of the thorny stems laid out on her pillow. Dark crimson petals were scattered across her sheets like macabre confetti. With trembling hands, she checked her jewelry box on the nightstand. Empty. She rushed to her closet and felt faint. All her most expensive dresses and cherished keepsakes gone. A chilling note pieced from magazines vowed to steal Kira's prized possessions one by one until only fear remained. Bile rose in her throat, realizing the stalker had been in her bedroom as she slept. Missing jewelry and cherished items confirmed he was systematically taking what she treasured most. Kira fled that night, the shadows holding menace as she drove for hours to escape. Later, she learned her home had been ransacked by the unseen intruder, all except a bouquet of dead roses surrounded by blood. To this day, Kira constantly looks over her shoulder, dread filling her when she sees any red rose. She moved away and now runs self-defense courses, turning her fears into empowerment. But the police have no leads, having hit dead ends despite an obsessive, fixated stalker. The bizarre case has gone cold. Kira still tenses at florists, the floral scents making her faint. She doubts she'll shake the memories of that horrific Valentine's Day, but she cautiously rebuilds her life, refusing to stay a victim to the shadowy tormentor who still lurks. Valentine's stalker. When Sonia left her controlling ex-Victor 6 months ago, she felt like she could finally breathe for the first time in years. His alcoholism, verbal abuse, and possessive ways had made the relationship a living nightmare. So, with help from a women's shelter, Sonia secured an apartment across town and a restraining order against Victor. She hoped putting physical distance between them would help her turn the page on that traumatic chapter of her life. Sonia decorated her new place to make it feel like a peaceful sanctuary. At the shelter's recommendation, she also took self-defense courses, and her co-workers even asked the building manager of her office to keep an extra eye out for signs of Victor. As the next Valentine's Day approached, Sonia made plans for a girls' night in with her closest friends. She looked forward to celebrating her first holiday in years free from Victor's drama and control. On the afternoon of February 14th, loud knocking at Sonia's front door made her jump. She wasn't expecting anyone. Peering through the eye-hole, Sonia's blood turned to ice. It was Victor holding a bouquet of roses and a box of chocolates. How did he find her new address? Why was he here after all this time? Sonia's hand trembled over her phone, Victor's pounding at the door growing louder. As much as she wanted to flee out the back, she worried making noise would alert him to break in. Heart pounding wildly, Sonia instead dialed 911, whispering desperately to the operator while locked in her bedroom closet. Within minutes, police sirens and flashing lights pulled up outside. Overhearing the commotion, Victor shouting profanities before peeling away in his car. An officer came to confirm Victor had left, likely realizing he'd violated the restraining order by coming there. Sonia hardly slept a wink that night, terrified Victor would return. For weeks, jumping at small noises and constantly peering out her window for his car became Sonia's new normal. She questioned if she'd have to move again to restart the nightmare of hiding from her vengeful ex all over. The shelters had warned her that holidays often caused abusive partners to resurface, but she'd prayed the restraining order would offer some protection. Now feeling like a prisoner in her own home didn't feel much different than how Victor himself made her feel while they were together. Months passed without Victor appearing, letting Sonia believe he had finally moved on. But the next Valentine's Day shattered that respite. An unknown caller with only heavy breathing on the line preceded violent pounding at Sonia's front door. Peering outside, she saw with horror it was Victor grinning creepily, another dozen roses in hand. Adrenaline flooded Sonia's veins, recalling last year's trauma. Victor was violating the restraining order again. Grabbing a knife with one hand, Sonia's other shook as she dialed 911. Soon sirens blared and an officer burst in, catching Victor lingering at the door with duct tape and drugs for intended kidnapping. His screamed entitlements to gift Sonia were ignored. The repeat stalking finally enabled criminal charges, earning Victor jail time. But enduring that abuse still haunts Sonia. Loud noises sparking memories kept fresh the past 2 Valentine's days. Yet focusing on healing and warning others, Sonia refuses to let her possessive ex's stalking shadow her forever. Poisoned chocolates. As Clara unlocked the door to her quiet apartment on Valentine's Day, the mouth-watering aroma of chocolate greeted her. On the kitchen counter sat an open box, brimming with decadent truffles next to a card bearing her name in unfamiliar writing. Clara lived alone with no current romantic partner, making the luxurious sweets and affectionate note a delightful surprise secret admirer gift. Popping a truffle onto her tongue, she savored the velvety richness with a smile. The sweetness seemed to spread through her whole body instantly. But as Clara went about her evening routine, she began feeling strangely feverish and fatigued. Painful stomach cramps made her double over, followed by bouts of vomiting. Clara staggered to the phone, dread rising. She had only eaten a bite of the chocolates, but something was horribly wrong. After calling 911, things deteriorated quickly. Trying desperately to articulate her symptoms to the dispatcher, Clara lost sensation in her limbs before collapsing entirely. Visions swam of masked hospital staff hovering over her as she slipped into unconsciousness. When Clara came to days later, surrounded by beeping machines with IVs piercing her skin, a doctor explained the chilling series of events around her untimely hospitalization on Valentine's Day. Toxicology reports showed Clara had ingested lethal traces of cyanide poisoning. Someone had meticulously infused the toxin into the decadent truffles left on her counter. It was this contaminated chocolate that caused her health to spiral at breakneck speeds. If Clara had consumed a whole truffle instead of just a bite, authorities confirmed she surely would have perished before help could arrive. Some ruthless individual had gifted her not sweet confections, but deadly poison. Their ongoing investigation strongly suggested whoever left that toxic delivery must have ties to, or an obsessive fixation on, Clara. The days blurred as Clara endured questioning by investigators, alongside attempts to detox her body from remaining venom through dialysis treatments. As both her physical and mental health gradually stabilized, Clara was racked with domino effects of trauma from the harrowing incident. Nightmares of faceless killers caressing chocolate boxes, visions swimming as the poison seized control again, fears of finishing the job. All plagued Clara's thoughts alongside anxieties over when, or if, her anonymous assailant might resurface. Survivors endure lasting scars from violence and stalking traumas, haunting even sweet symbols. Yet sharing these women's stories, though chilling, provides cautionary warnings so you can identify obsessive signs early and unwrap only lovely Valentine's surprises. Please like, subscribe, and stay safe this season.